Okay, dear students, now in this video we will discuss elasticity of supply. Okay, so by this elasticity, we are actually referring to price elasticity of supply. Okay, so now it actually refers to the responsiveness of the quantity supplied of a commodity to a change in its price. Okay, so because of the change in price, how much the quantity supplied can be can show its responsiveness. Okay, how much it is affected. Okay, so that is referred to the elasticity of supply. Okay, and it measures the sensitivity of the quantity supplied of a commodity to a change in its price. Okay, yeah. Remember, whenever you discuss about this elasticity of supply, you are actually referring to the price elasticity of supply. Okay, only and only price elasticity of supply. Remember, income elasticity, cross elasticity is not the part of our syllabus. Only and only the price elasticity of supply. Okay, both in demand and supply. Okay, so now we can express this mathematically as this ES. Okay, we write ES. Okay, elasticity of supply. Okay, now this is your formula: proportionate change in quantity supplied by proportionate change in price. Okay, it's actually your percentage change. Okay, in your book it may be percentage change. I don't know what is written out there. So this elasticity of supply, it can be also having the different kind of formula, that is change in quantity by change in price into base price by base quantity. Okay, that is the initial price and the quantity. Okay, now the degrees of elasticity of supply. Now perfectly elastic. Okay, so perfectly elastic is a situation, okay, in which the small change in uh, price, it can bring uh, you know it can bring a infinite change in the price. Sorry, the quantity to be supplied is known as the perfectly elastic supply. Okay, so it's a case in which the quantity supplied of a commodity responds by an infinite amount to a very small change in the price. So it means that if there is a small portion of change in the price, the quantity supplied will be very highly elastic. Okay, which means it is perfectly elastic. Okay, if it is by infinite number. Okay, perfectly elastic. Okay, now perfectly inelastic is actually even when a larger portion of uh, um, change in price takes place, there will be no response from the supply. Okay, so this is known as the perfectly inelastic supply. Now unitary elastic, if you talk about unitary elastic, then it means that the percentage change in the price will be equal to the percentage change in the supply of a particular commodity. Okay, so it means that it is the unitary elastic. Okay, now elastic supply. So elastic supply is the condition when the percentage change in the quantity supplied, okay, when the percentage change in the quantity supplied of a commodity is greater than the percentage change in its price, is known as the elastic supply. Okay, and inelastic supply is actually the change in the quantity of a supply of a commodity. Okay, the change in quantity supplied of a commodity is less than the percentage change in its price, so hence it is known as inelastic supply. Okay, so I have given you some graphs out here, so you can refer to this. Okay, for understanding this degrees of elasticity of supply. I don't want to go in detail about this because we have already discussed in the previous chapter about the elasticity. Okay, now there are two measurement of elasticity of supply. One method is the percentage method, which is totally based on the definition of elasticity of supply, which you can see it out here. Okay, so as per the percentage method, you will follow this. Okay, whatever the formula that has been given to you. Okay, now we already know this geometric method is also known as point method, and it is used to measure the elasticity of supply at a given point on the supply curve. Okay, so I don't want to discuss about this part for our time being, because it is not much important from our examination point of view. Okay, so I want to skip this part. However, if you want to know and discuss what is this, okay, that's why I have included a few diagrams out here. Okay, if you are interested to know about this, we can discuss. Okay, please let me know about that. Okay, so now what are the factors which determines the elasticity of supply? Okay, so let's just discuss them in brief. Number one, behavior of cost of production. Okay, so if the cost of production, if it is increasing, obviously it will affect the supply. Okay, now the supply will be decreasing. Okay, because the price is increasing. Okay, the cost of production is too high, then the supply will be affected. Supply will be declining. Okay, but if the cost of production is cheaper, then the supply will be more. Okay, now point number two, time element. Now we have already discussed this previously, that in market period, short run period, long run period. Okay, the supply, what can be the supply? Okay, the supply, it can, sorry, not in this video, not in this PPT I have, in the previous video we have already discussed. Okay, so in case of market period, the supply will be fixed. In short run period, supply can be adjusted for us to a certain extent, and in the long run period, supply can be largely manipulated. Okay, now point number three, nature of the commodity. Now if that commodity is to be reused again and again, if that commodity is a perishable item or a single use commodity, then the supply of that commodity should be made every day. Okay, and that supply will be very, very high. For example, newspaper, okay, sugar, milk, okay, so rice, okay, vegetable items, okay, meat and other items, okay, which are of necessity categories. So uh, like nowadays we are using this sanitizers, masks. Okay, so the supply will be more. But if the commodity is of a luxurious nature, okay, then the supply will be very much limited. Okay, now point number four, availability of facilities for expanding production. Now availability of facilities, actually we are referring to the infrastructure. Okay, if the infrastructure is very nice, then the supply will be very nice. Okay, it will be very, very high. But if the infrastructure is very poor, then supply will be limited. Okay, now let me give you an example of a village area and a metro city. Now in a village area where infrastructure is not so good, supply will be limited. Okay, it will be very, very limited. Okay, not only limited but very, very limited. Okay, but in the metro city, supply, it can be very, very high. Okay, because of the good infrastructure. Now, point number five, nature of inputs. Uh, there are actually two laws here, okay, diminishing returns and increasing returns, which we will discuss in the later chapters. Okay, so it's regarding that. However, I want to tell you one thing, that by this nature of inputs, actually, this is the raw material. So some raw materials, it are like this. You have to feed in too much of inputs, but the output is very, very less. Okay, more raw material, more input but less output. So at this point of time, supply will be less. But if there is a raw material which you will just put in a very little amount, but the output, it can be very, very large. Okay, so at that point of time, supply can be more. Okay, so here we will discuss, okay, in the later chapters. I don't know which section it is. Mm, Law of diminishing returns and law of increasing returns. So you can see in the book. Okay, now I don't know the page number exactly, by the way. Now point number six, nature of techniques of production. Now what technique you are using, by the way, whether it is advanced, modernized, or primitive, or obsolete. Okay, if the technology which you are using or the technique you are using is modern and advanced, supply can be more. Okay, but if the technique you are using is obsolete or primitive, then the supply will be less. Okay, now factor mobility. Now by factor mobility, we are actually referring to the uh, mobility of factors of production, okay, whether the factors are mobile or not. Okay, it's like land, it cannot be moved from one place to the other place, isn't it? But labor, capital, and organization, it can be shifted from one place to the other place. So it depends upon the factor mobility also. Okay, if the factors can be if the factors are mobile, supply will be high. If the factors are not mobile, supply will be constricted. Okay, it will be limited. Now, risk taking. Now, it all depends upon the behavior of the seller also. Okay, it's about it's all about the risk taking. Okay, if he wants to take more risk, he may make more supply, and if he doesn't want to take risk, then the supply will be less. Okay, so it can be vice versa. Okay, in different cases, depending upon the nature of goods also, and depending upon various other factors like economic factors, social factors, geopolitical factors, okay, geographical factors, okay, uh, many factors are there. Okay, now it's all about that. And point number 9, expectation about future prices. Okay, it's actually the speculation effect. So in future, the price, may change. So depending upon that, your supply can be increased or decreased. Okay,